Welcome to A Few Thoughts About, the show where we dig into thinking and how it shapes our experience of life. Each week, I share insights and observations to get you thinking. No long lectures, just quick, thought-provoking episodes to shift perspectives so that you can make the change you want to make. Let's get into it. Before we get started, I would like to tell you about something. If you like what you're hearing in these podcasts, if you like these ideas and you want help applying them to your own journey, whatever that happens to be, I mean, it could be alcohol, could be anything, whatever it is you're looking to change or do differently or shift, I have a couple of one-on-one coaching slots open right now. This podcast is releasing on January 30th. So as of today, when I'm recording it, January 29th, I'm a just-in-time guy, apparently, right now. But as of when I'm recording this intro, I have 2 slots open. And so I would absolutely love to talk to you about it. There is a link in the show notes, which will take you to a place where you can book some time with me. This is a low pressure thing where we will talk about you and what you're looking for and what your journey's been like. I'll talk about how I work. If it's a fit, I'll offer you a spot. If not, I'll try to give you some other resources. My goal is that no matter what, you get off this call with a next step. So if you like these ideas, if you've been toying around with one-on-one coaching, if you were thinking, you know what, maybe now's the time for me to take the plunge, I'd love to be able to talk to you about it. So again, check out the link in the show notes. It will take you to a site where you can book some time with me, totally for free, by the way. Like, this is just a chat. I'd love to chat with you. All right, that is it. Let's start the show. Well, hello there, and welcome to A Few Thoughts About Convincing. So this is interesting because what I want to talk about today is not someone convincing someone else they need to change, right? Because we know that doesn't necessarily work. We need to be committed to change ourselves before we actually, make whatever change that is, right? And so having an outside force convincing us we need to change, it rarely actually works. That motivation comes from inside. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about today was this idea of convincing yourself to change. This is really interesting. I had a client bring this up with me recently, and he basically said just that. Like, I just need to convince myself that I need to make this change. And it was really interesting to me because it was almost like an outsider looking at himself, right? Like, it was almost that he was like, okay, I know that I quote unquote should do this. I know that this is the quote unquote right thing to do. And so I need a reason. And so I have to convince myself to change. And that word convince, like that one bugs me, right? Because to me, that implies this idea that I don't feel like I need to change, but I need to somehow make myself think that I need to change. And while understanding that you need to change is a powerful thing, clearly, and like I said, that motivation is intrinsic, forcing yourself to see it oftentimes doesn't work. And so we can get ourselves in this situation where the enthusiasm or the desire to no longer be drinking is so strong that we're almost acting out of a way that we don't actually feel. Like, here's what I mean, right? We get like all hepped up about the idea, like, oh, I'm gonna fully quit drinking. This is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be incredible. I'm gonna be better. My life's gonna be so much better. Blah 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 blah. Right? We get all psyched about that, and it's really a great thing. But here's what happens: we look at this dream world and we use that as something to beat ourselves with. So we look at this perceived future and all these ideas we have, which, by the way, are probably pretty goddamn accurate. Like, what's going to be different for us if we change, like how it's going to feel, all of that stuff is probably accurate, because we know it, we live it. But when we don't feel, and notice I'm using the word feel, not know, right? When we don't feel that we need to change, then all that is just convincing. And that convincing oftentimes creates a lot of cognitive dissonance. So back to my client who was saying like, oh, I just need to convince myself to change. I just need to, to do the work to show myself that change is the way to go. And I said, I have a different approach to this, and I see this differently. Maybe this isn't about convincing. Like it's one thing that I see so often with people that come to work with me or work with me and Sam and Ellie at Present and Sober. I see this, well, it's like this idea that I should quit drinking, but part of me doesn't want to. As a matter of fact, a big part of me might not want to. And so there's this real conflict, right? There's this real thing where, it's like this feeling of, man, I don't know. Like, should I do this? Should I not do this? What is this going to feel like? Do I really want to do this? And, it's funny, I've worked with people too that'll say things like, maybe they'll work on it for a little bit and then they'll back off and they'll go, I don't know that I really want to quit drinking. This is a key insight. And just because someone is telling you to quit, that doesn't necessarily mean that internally you're aligned, right? Again, I'm not saying that person is wrong, but what I am saying is just because we're getting this message from other people, it doesn't necessarily make it true, which means that we need to be convinced. That's the thing that I see people move forward is when they are internally aligned. External alignment, the world telling you all those things, it can tell you that shit forever. I mean, hell, if I think about my story, there were so many signs. There were so many times that I had this thought of I really need to quit, or I saw the impact on my life, or maybe on me, or maybe my work, or worse yet, my loved ones. I saw it. I fucking saw it. But that wasn't the thing. That just added to the pressure. And there was no amount of convincing in that moment that was actually going to help me change. The reason that I actually changed is because I became internally aligned. Because inside, my thoughts and my feelings were aligned with this reality that I saw. When that happened, I was able to change. And it was absolutely not an external convincing. That happened through me allowing. And that's the point. That's the difference, right? When I was telling this client that I have a different approach, that is what I'm talking about. I am not interested in convincing people not to drink. That's not my job. That's not what I do as a coach. And I don't think it's effective coaching because I know firsthand, and you can talk to almost anyone who's involved in work with addictions. They'll tell you the same thing. You can't force people to do this. It's not how it works, right? What we have to do instead is make this decision on our own. And this is what I mean, right? In my own journey, I wasn't going to be convinced. There was no ultimate external circumstance, right? See my episode about the concept of rock bottom for more info on that. But there was no external circumstance. It had to come from me. It had to come from inside, right? Quitting is an inside job. That's the important thing to understand. And so when I was talking to this client, I was like, you know what? I don't think you need to convince yourself of anything. I think what you need to do is just be with the way life is, right? Stop over intellectualizing it. Stop trying to convince yourself. Stop trying to make the fact that you're still drinking mean something. It doesn't. It doesn't mean anything other than at this point, you're not internally aligned. And very often it is that energy of convincing that gets in our way. It's that energy of when am I going to get it through my thick skull? And these are literally things I've heard from clients. It's that energy that doesn't allow the deeper realization to happen of I think it's time for me to change. And so what I talked to my client about, I talked about letting go of this idea. Stop trying to convince yourself. Stop trying to listen to podcasts and I just got to know this. Just let go of all of that and just be. Just relax into it. Like we say in Present and Sober, right? Just let yourself kind of float in through this. And a really incredible thing happened. And this doesn't happen all of the time. So I'm, what is that thing they say in investment commercials? Past performance doesn't indicate future results, right? Your mileage may vary. But the really interesting thing that I saw unfold with this guy over about a month or so, it was this new sense of direction and this new sense of wanting to change that did not have such a heavy feel to it. It changed everything for him. And he was able to, for the first time since we started working together, he was able to, I think he's now at just coming up on 2 weeks alcohol free, and he hasn't been able to do that in a long time. And so it's this paradoxical thing. Like, in order to move forward, I have to let go, right? That I don't have to push, that I don't have to convince, that I can breathe. These are the things that I think, the pressures of life and the pressures of where we want to go. And certainly we want it to happen on a timeline that may or may not be realistic. But until we're internally aligned, stuff doesn't change. And there's no amount of convincing that gets us there, right? What I have seen repeatedly over and over is that convincing isn't the move. The right move, the best move, the move that I see work most often is to stop convincing and just experience, just learn. Learn what your experience is like, learn about how you're feeling, look around at your life, being things. And I'll put in a shameless plug here for Present and Sober, what we're doing over there with the Get Stopped program. Like, it's all designed to allow you to get this internal alignment, because it's the internal alignment that helps you then take the next steps. And this is what I've seen over and over, right? Like, over and over and over. When people are internally aligned, they can make the shift. But when we're convincing and we're pushing and we're forcing ourselves to change, that just doesn't work as well. Well, there you have it. There are a few thoughts about convincing. I'd love to hear what you think. Head on over to scottpiniard.com/podcast. There is a place there you can send me a note. I would love to hear from you. And there's also a place where you can suggest topics. So I've had several people write in recently. So thank you. 4 folks have written in just in the last week, which is really great, with some topic suggestions. Those episodes are going to be coming soon. You can do that there as well. So it's scottpiniard.com/podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll be back again next week.